Good evening, it's Arlo Johnson in Vernon, BC at approximately 6:45 p.m. on November the 2nd. Turning our clocks back. All right. What I want to talk about is the fact that we're going to talk about why everything is here and why and for what reason. Why are we here? Do you ever think of that? I'm sure everybody does. Maybe not too often, but I think most people do kind of think about it. The fact is that this most likely started eons ago when God put together a plan. The thing is, I like to talk about the plan. This is God's plan, not my plan, not your plan, not anybody else's plan. It's only God's plan. And He put this plan together for one reason. He was in the universe as God Almighty, and He had angels galore. It says myriad of angels, which means, who knows, millions. Angels and all kinds of different beings. But He was a person enough, or not a person, he's not a man. But anyway, obviously, he wanted to, he owned everything. Everything is his. There was nothing here that wasn't his. The way I see it is God existed in this universe. And at some point, He declared it to be developed. And as He existed in this universe, He existed as God, but He existed as a spirit being, huge spirit being. The Word was part of God. The Word, when the Word spoke, it was so. It was so. He developed the universe with the Word, through the Word. Now there was a Holy Spirit, I suppose, existing, but maybe not needed at that time, but would be His Holy Spirit. Now that's basically what I'm being told by many religious groups and whatever, that's basically what God is. He exists like that. Nobody's ever seen Him. They have seen the Word. We haven't seen Him. The people have seen Him. He grew up on this planet, came at a certain period of time, and that's jumping the gun. To get it to that point, He had to develop the universe. He had to develop all the stars, the moon, the planets, everything. Put it all in motion. Developing it, they're spreading apart, doing this. They all have the region. They have gravity, and they have orbits. Gravity that keeps them in an orbit, that keeps them, the gravity holds them from spinning out. And then He developed the earth. And He developed beings, animals, this, that, whatever, on this planet. And it goes on to say in Genesis, which is the closest explanation we have of what took place. and how all the in Genesis he said that the day one was light and this and that, and the next day was different things, and everybody, the animals were at a certain time, and light was at a certain time, and the moon and the sun and the moon came at a certain time, and trees and flowers. And then when he gets to the sixth, after all that, all the creations up to the fifth day was all building the earth and all the animals and everything else. On the sixth day, creation, he created male and female. That's all it says. But he created them male and female, and told them they would be hunters and fishers, and they would have everything they needed on the planet. And then on the sixth day, that's what he did. At the end of the sixth day, he rested on the seventh day after doing all this creation. Now, there's those who say, well, you can't do that in 24 hours. Well, I would say God could do it in 24 hours. I sure couldn't, or you couldn't do it. He could do it in 24 hours. I don't know that he had to. He may have done it in a day, which might have been a certain amount of time, not necessarily our 24-hour day. But anyway, it said, then he rested. Now follow me on this. And then he created Adam. It doesn't say how long he rested. Nothing. If he rested one day, in God's time would be he said it's like 1,000 years. Doesn't say it's exactly 1,000, but it's like 1,000 years. So it's a block of time in Earth time. Might have been 1 day, 2 days, whatever. Could have been a couple thousand years. And during that time, the sixth-day creation, people would have developed, spread all over the earth. In 1,000 years, it'd be quite a few, I would think. Then he created Adam. But when he created Adam, he had a different deal. He did not just speak them into existence. He formed them out of the dust of the ground. Formed and set them. And he said, let us make them in our image. That's the image of the Father and the Son. Now we are made in their image. Nobody else has ever been made in his image. No angel, no nothing, no spiritual being, no animal, no spiritual being, anything. Only you and me have been made in his image. That's pretty important to him. In fact, being he is the God of all things, everything. And he creates his son, what he calls his first son. He called him the Son of God, in his image. Now, that's what started there. And he created Eve out of Adam. He didn't create Eve by forming her or whatever. He formed her, but he formed her out of a rib of Adam. Now, the only reason I could think of that we would have done that was to perpetuate the species by the DNA from one to another, so that they both had the same blueprint. And he created her to carry the womb and for procreation, and she was to be a helpmeet to help Adam. Now, I think that went on for a while. By the sound of it, they lived in the Garden of Eden for, it doesn't say how long. It might have been quite a while. But then things went bad. He had given them the directions because he had a plan of kind of forcing his children to follow a certain way. And they had to listen to his instructions. Or his law is, if you don't follow my laws, the penalty is death. There's no two ways about it. He's not wishy-washy about anything. He's not like an old grandfather or something. No. You gotta remember, he's existed forever, and he always will exist. Nobody can take his place. He knows the beginning from the end. He has all knowledge that there can be, all power, and his Son, Jesus Christ, is his only first Son. Now, God is such a big God, and this is such a big universe, that I don't think he even filled the universe. He maybe just filled part of it, because it's most likely an unending universe. And when you think about the idea that he wanted to have a family and he wanted to have sons, he didn't want any, fighting or battling or two different sexes or like it is on Earth. No. He had to do that on Earth to get by. He had to have a woman have different ideas, traits, and whatever. And but that had to be to balance out how he was going to get people procreated. For instance, he had to make the woman way more attractive and better looking than the man. Man is not basically very attractive. Women are. Women can be very attractive, at least to human beings. For that reason, it's done for a purpose, to attract the man to the woman, to plant his seed in that woman. He has an urge to do that. He doesn't know why or how or what, but it's there, and it is driven to do it. Now, you have to always keep in mind that this is part of the plan. And finally get to the point where he has the amount of sons available that he wants. He tells, Jesus tells everybody that he's building a new Jerusalem that will come down on this planet, a new Jerusalem. There will be a Jerusalem city developed on the planet, but that's not the new Jerusalem. That's the Jerusalem for the capital of his, what he calls his land, his country, Israel. Now, we go along on this planet doing things and whatever, and, you know, most people think, well, it'll just keep on, this will just go on and on and on. Nothing ever changes. Everything changes. Every day it changes. That's part of God's plan, because this is a disposable world. It's not the final world. It's not the permanent one that will be coming. This is the, what would you call it? The, I'm trying to think of the word. The, brooder, like a brooder deal for the world. They're developing and building his checks, but the checks are human. And they go build all over the place, just all over. But they're coming to a time now where it looks like the urge that he put into people, into women, is slipping away. It's being killed by satanic forces, I guess. It's their job to do that. To where instead of, you know, women all through history, thousands of years, women have cherished the idea of having a son and a daughter, to having children. That was a big thing. They wanted them more than men did. Not that men didn't, because they did, but not like a woman. Her children are very important to her. They're more important to her than they are to the man. The man is more aloof to them than the woman is. The woman will support them whether they're right or wrong, doesn't matter. The man won't, most likely, he's very, you know, reticence to support his own children if they are guilty and wrong. A woman can't pretend that. She doesn't care. It doesn't matter to her. That's a very dangerous trait that a woman has. But it's all coming together. It sure takes a long time to do these things. When you think about the thousands of years that have happened, you know, gone on just with this world so far. They claim it's about 6,000 years. I mean, it's been there for a long time before that. There might have been, you know, dinosaurs and this and that, and whatever before, but developed. But when he decided to have his children, people, his first one was, his basically first one was Adam. Now, if you read the Bible or do anything like this, people think that the Bible is universal and all that. It might be universal, but it's only about one family. The family of Adam and Eve. Not about the family in Africa, not about the family in China, not about the family in Brazil. No. It's about that one family and their descendants. And they were the early people. And, you know, if you go through too quick on this, you miss a whole bit. Because it took a lot of doing to get it to this point. And it's going to carry on exactly as he has said. And there's more things like For instance, the city of God that Christ said he's building, nobody in my lifetime, in the last 90 years, till just lately, like just the last year or two, told me that this city that Jesus was going to build, the New Jerusalem, that was going to be the permanent home of God's family, was too big for this planet. God said, I'm going to create a new heaven and a new earth. The old heaven and the old earth are going to disappear. And it's going to be, according to people who have tried to figure this out, they've said that the earth is going to have to increase by about 360 times in volume to get big enough surface to handle this city without the ends sticking up in the air. If it came down on this planet now, the gates to the city would be 70 miles off the surface, all four gates, because of the curvature of the earth and the distance, 1,500 miles square. So in 1,500 miles, there's about 150 feet of curvature. 75 feet on this side. Well, it would be, no, it'd just be 75 feet, I guess. Wouldn't be double. So that's what I'd like to talk about and you know, for discussion, because there really is nothing more important than that. Not at all. This business of Israelites that I wrote about being the precursors to the white race, that's appears what happened. God took away their Abrahamic promises for 2,520 years because they kept breaking his laws. And he said, for that reason, you're going to get them, but now you're going to be penalized. You're going to have to wait a long time. Now, maybe that was on purpose to get them to develop enough, to build up enough. So there was millions and millions of them. There was 6 million when that happened, and it took 2,500 years to get over it. By that time, they had been in Europe for a long time, and you know, this is not conjecture or something. This is history. There's plenty of written records to show that people were of the white race many, many thousands of years ago in Europe. And at that time, it didn't seem to make any difference. Nobody even thought about it. And they developed and developed and developed until the promises came due, and God was you know, he was up to the task to live up to his promises, and they received them, most likely exactly when they should. They received all the best land, riches of the deep, riches of the womb, riches of this and that, and they moved into countries that were held in abeyance, exactly like it looks like, and they were held in abeyance for the Israelites, his 10 tribes of Israel. They lost 10 tribes of Israel. And, you know, you can argue about it all you like, but North America was sat in abeyance didn't change for thousands of years. When the Europeans landed there in the 1700s, I guess, there was no such thing as any infrastructure of any kind. Not a stick of road, nothing. There was these Aboriginals and Indians, they're called Indians in North America, roaming around, living in tents, made out of buffalo hides, I guess, and they moved and moved from one area to the other, continually kind of on the move, following the buffalo and the grass, of course. They occupied lands here and then lands there, and that went on for thousands of years. They came from towns and cities where there was houses, streets, and businesses, and whatever, roads and ships, and there got to be so many of them they had to immigrate to another land, and they had found out about North America. Don't forget, that was like going to the moon for them. Anyway, they got on these ships and were able to sail across the Atlantic Ocean and land in North America. That was the start of it. And then they moved. They came steady, millions of them. Millions of them. And they were all basically white race people. And that's a fact. Europe was all white race. Nobody thought anything of it. They thought that's the way it was. And that's the way it was. And later on, they started to bring people from Africa into the United States. And a lot of it ended up being slave traders, the people, these guys, big plantation owners in the southern states, started to bring them in as labor. And that went on. And they actually got to be a big percentage of the population. And they are now. I don't know what they are, 19%, 20%. But now it's thinning out. The white race is thinning out a lot. In fact, between all the other immigrations, there's been the black race, the Chinese race, and all the, Asian, basically, South America, whatever. They're getting close to down to half from where they were. And their time is coming. God has said there's going to be an end to all this. He's going to live out his wrath that he has waited and held for 6,000 years. And the plan is that this is going to be the end of this age. There's going to be a big battles and all kinds of natural big storms and things that people are going to die from galore. They claim it's going to be between a third and a half of the population existing at that time. You got to remember that's the ones that are going to be hit by this are just like this one band that goes across history, and the worst is the last 3.5 years. The first 3.5 years of the 7-year tribulation is supposed to be quite good. The Antichrist, who has taken over governments and everything else, he's called the Antichrist. He won't be called that at the time. He'll be called something else. But that's what he will be. After 3.5 years, he will break his promises to different countries and people and whatever. Just put the hammer on them. And that's when the world is going to rebel. Nature is going to rebel. Everything is going to rebel. There's going to be different plagues, storms, 75-pound blocks of ice hitting people, plagues, droughts, starvation, and it's all going to happen during that period. And then Christ comes down on this planet and he stops it. They have a war, and they said there's going to be 200 million soldiers involved. That is a lot. And he is going to destroy them all. They will all be destroyed. And they'll be taking time to clean up all that and all the debris from the war and whatever. He said it, and he's going to make everybody pound their plowshares, or their swords, into plowshares. And he is going to be the king and the ruler of the earth for the next 1,000 years. And in that time, he's going to try to get the earth and all the people that are left, which will be maybe like 4 billion, to get right with God. And then what's going to happen is when the 1,000 years is just about up, or when it is up, he's going to release Satan from his prison pit. And he's going to allow him out again to convince all these who are not convinced and have not been fully convinced that Christ is God and whatever else, and gather them up for the final cleanup battle. And that'll happen, and then God destroys them all with fire. All. And Satan is indestructible, so he gets put back into hell. Lake of fire. And that's the end of him. The very end. That's the plan up to date. And, there should be no other thing on your plate except investigating and learning about that plan and where you fit in it. Anyway, that's all for tonight. Thank you.